I have noticed for the past few months that Trump Derangement Syndrome seems to be somewhat abating on Reddit. Only in some of the subreddits, but r/politics is a pretty bad one. It's definitively a left-wing echo chamber, really. And yet, there's people here calling out this article by the Daily Beast, which I will show here. It is God, it's like a middle school drama newspaper, like something made to call out like these boys are icky and it's stuff like that. I mean, it's obsessed in the corner, double standards written here, and pretty much all of it. It's just hit piece after hit piece against right wing stuff. That Trump is looking to sign teenagers up for the same national duty he wriggled out of 5 times, and yet they get called out. That's so. It like this wouldn't have happened maybe half a year ago or even more. And it was really bad back in the Biden era when they were convinced that Trump wasn't going to, like, there was no chance he could win. Like, he wasn't even going to get to the point where it was even possible. Like, they were certain, like, legally he wouldn't even be allowed to do it. So back then it was just them dogpiling on him and Musk and so forth. But now, weirdly, they're starting to. I'm not saying they're in favor of Trump. They're still very much against him, but they realize that they can't just pick anything up off the ground and throw it. Because if you pick up a turd off the ground and you throw it, okay, maybe you threw a turd at somebody, but now your hand's covered in crap, and now you smell like crap, and no one wants to be around you or touch you because you're covered in crap and you smell. So they're starting to sort of realize that, to some degree at least. It's better than it was, which is good, because the problem with the Democrats is that they're completely deranged and out of touch. They just need to be more pragmatic and practical, because right now they are basically raving racists and sexists who want to destroy all males and white people. And they are fueled almost entirely by Trump Derangement Syndrome. You can extrapolate from that like Vance Derangement Syndrome or whatever other member of the administration, or just, MAGA derangement syndrome in general. They're very angry at all of this, but it stems from Trump, obviously. So they on this sub, they're actually correct. And again, r/politics is very, very, very left wing, and they're correcting this, that people are already registered at 18. We're forced to, because we're males, but only males. So we're forced to do it, but it's automated now, or they're making it automated now. Now, weirdly, I've collapsed this top comment here because it's just them saying that they want to send Trump's kids and Vance to the war front, which is funny because these are the same people who say they're going to dodge the draft, even though they claim that they punched Nazis in order to try and role play as World War II veterans. But anyway, they're responding to this comment, who's correcting the OP and saying, so let me get this straight. They can automatically determine a person is eligible as a citizen to immediately sign them up for the draft, but it's too difficult to do this for voting. And then there's a chain of people agreeing with them and talking about how it's all trying to get rid of the voting so Republicans can be a dictatorship, yada, yada, yada. I mean, these are the people who constantly make death threats and stuff to people all the time, and yet they still think they live in a dictatorship. But I find it interesting how OP has made a total BS thread, which is just an outright lie that Trump is changing something. He's forcing teenagers to do this when they've had to do it for a very long time. Someone corrected that, and the response to it is totally ignoring the fact that this thread is a lie, totally ignoring the fact that the article's a lie, and just moving on to something else. Well, if the article's a lie, if the thread is a lie, then maybe what you're saying is a lie. Maybe all this crap about voting is a lie, because the voting is stateside. It's not federal. I mean, do you really want it to be completely controlled by the federal government? Because then if one side did take control over it, it really would be completely machinated by a single scheme of Democrats or Republicans or whoever happens to be the dominant party. And it's just funny how they ignored the fact that the thread was a lie and moved on, twisted it into something, a completely different storyline, a completely different topic. It's fascinating to me. But you can see more people here that they also recently raised the maximum age for military service from 35 to 42. They're trying to dogpile on the OP, saying that, oh yeah, the draft also affects you up to 42 now. But then they got fact-checked as well, saying this is for voluntary enlistment, and the draft is still 18 to 25. So it's two different people fact-checking in favor of the Trump admin here. So it's just, you don't really see this very much. And the people complaining about the Daily Beast, a lot of people agreeing with him. Someone saying, for the love of God, the draft's always been that. The voting is stateside, state level. Normally, I'm all for bashing for this admin, but turning a manual process already required by federal law into an automated one is a nothing burger. Loads and loads and loads of people saying that. But putting all of that aside, and it is good that they're kind of losing their Trump derangement syndrome a bit, and that they're just being reasonable, most of them anyway. There's this one comment here, which I thought was very interesting. Now, I'm sure the right wing does this too, but it's like, you ever see like a number that kind of gets stuck in your head, and then whenever you see it, you just see that number over and over. Like for me, it's 606. When I see the left wing do something annoying, I notice it more than when the right wing does it, because the right wing annoys me less. So I'm sure the right wing does this, but the left wing loves to idolize people from the past. They love to say like, oh, well, Jesus would have been a Democrat. Oh, Abraham Lincoln would have been a Democrat. George Washington would have been. They love this narrative that, oh, Anne Frank, Rosa Parks, whoever, they would have been Democrats, and that proves that I'm a good person. So here's a quote from George Carlin: "Republicans want live babies so they can turn them into dead soldiers," which is fascinating to me, because that's basically suggesting that all violence and wars come from Republicans, right? I mean, what else could that possibly mean? And the left is the party of females, right? Like the Republicans, they can't give anything to females that men can't have, really. But there is abortions, isn't there? And the right wing can't really run on abortions because of the Christian values. So the left wing decided to do that. The left wing decided to tell women, to bribe women with abortion, and that's how they're getting the votes of women. It's very clearly. They're terrifying them, telling them that men are dangerous, that they will be attacked by a man, and that they will die in childbirth, and that they need to have abortions. That's what the left wing has done. So the left wing is the party of extinction then, right? The Republicans want live babies so they can turn them into dead soldiers. The left wing wants to abort their babies. So technically, it's kind of true that the left wing wouldn't have soldiers, right? Like the Republicans want soldiers to protect their country. The left wing doesn't want soldiers at all, which sort of coincides with them opening the borders and such as well. I find that interesting. And I also find it interesting that it coincides with the narrative that all males are the spawn of Satan, and they are the beginning, the impetus of all violence, that if not for males being the leaders, the world would be a better place. Like if we had queens instead of kings, it would be this paradisical utopia with no violence, even though there have been female leaders and they have been violent, unsurprisingly. So it's sort of just interesting how that all swirls around the same narrative, that the left wing are a bunch of peaceful women, and yet if they were in charge, they would abort all the babies, open all the borders, and there would be no soldiers to protect, which is exactly what they're trying to do, isn't it? So Republicans want live babies to turn them into dead soldiers. Republicans want live babies so that they have soldiers to protect the country. Yes, I agree with that. Totally reasonable thing, I think. You see this person's expounding on the comment by George Carlin from 1996, where he is bashing on Newt Gingrich, who's talking about his opposition of Roe versus Wade and racial rhetoric and such. And now here we are, most white countries have 20% or more immigrants. Some countries have no growth, like France is basically a plus minus zero birth rate, with like 21% of their country is immigrants. And that's not even counting any kind of impact that the religions and stuff have. So, you know, I'm not a racist, but maybe there's something to having strict borders. Maybe that's important. Maybe there is something to not aborting literally all of the babies to the point where your country no longer grows, and you have to import immigrants in order to keep the machinery moving. Like maybe there's something to having children and to having a nation of your people and not foreigners. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I thought this was a very interesting comment to include in this thread, which was totally unrelated, really. I mean, the entire thread's total BS to begin with, since the draft has been, I think it's been since Vietnam, the draft has been turned on, or not turned on, but turned off, but you've always had to register for it for like a century or something. It's been around for ages. So, and also, in the USA, you have to register for the draft, but you don't actually have to go to any kind of basic training or anything, which A lot of countries have that. Loads of countries have that. But of course, over here in the USA, everyone's so bloated on peace. They have no sense of patriotism. They have no sense of nationality. They just want to dodge the draft and role play as if they're World War II veterans punching Nazis. It's embarrassing. I'd actually intended to end the video there, but I recorded it the day prior, and now today there's another r/politics thread saying Obama twists the knife after J.D. Vance's humiliation, again posted by the Daily Beast, and again being criticized by Redditors. The top comment saying he didn't say anything about J.D. Vance, such a misleading headline. I should have known Obama was too classy to do anything of that kind. And then loads of people in this thread just trashing on the Daily Beast. Other ones going along with it as well. They probably didn't even read it, going along with it. But again, it's like you don't need to use crap like that. You shouldn't use crap like that. You shouldn't just bend down and pick up the turd. You got plenty of other stuff. Like Trump's just put out his weird AI depiction of him as Jesus, which, if I had to guess at why he did that, he's probably angry at the No Kings people. And it's probably reminded him of what they said on Easter when he segued a Christ is King thing to talking about himself, which he always does. It's my biggest problem with him, where he started talking about himself whilst giving a sermon, or not really a sermon, but you know what I mean, about Easter. And he was criticizing the people who were mocking him, saying that he was a king, when he was saying, oh, I'm not really a king, Christ is king, whatever. And this is probably just him being irritated by the Pope's commentary, being reminded of Easter, being reminded of the No Kings rally and all of that. And so he's just made this AI thing as a way to well, it's probably not him. Like, if we're being honest, I don't think Trump knows how to use AI, just to guess. But it's probably his PR team. They're probably just stirring the pot. But that is still an official thing that you can use to hammer, right? Like, you don't need this crap from the Daily Beast. Anyway, I thought it was interesting that the Democrats of r/politics, of all places, not even some obscure place or like r/conservative or anything, but the very left-wing sub of this, were kind of defending, not Trump exactly, but just defending reason. They were defending something reasonable, something pragmatic and practical. The more Democrats do that, the better they will look. Of course, they've got a long way to go. I mean, it's actually not really so long. It's just some big steps. Like, step 1, admit that men can't menstruate or get pregnant. I know it seems like a simple thing, but apparently it's not. So, another step in the right direction. Hopefully there will be more. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please do the YouTube things.